Greetings.
Hello.
Greet.
My greeting.
Well met.
I greet you.
Greetings, traveler.
Greetings, friend.
The pleasure is mine.
Hello and welcome to episode 180 of Concede, a Hearthstone podcast dedicated to making the competitive side of the game more accessible to you. Joining you from Gadgets and New York, it's me, Ridiculous Hat. From Karazhan, California, it's Botticus.
Hello.
From the Males from Louisiana, it's Appa.
It me.
And from the Twisting Nether, from coast to coast, from continent to continent, it's you, the listener. We are supported in large part by you. Thank you so much for all of your support. If you'd like to find out how you can support us and receive rewards in return, head to patreon.com/coinconcede or leave us an iTunes review. It helps other people find the show. Huge, enormous, crazy thanks to Dante VS for being our newest producer. And Appa asked me specifically if I had the We're Not Worthy clip ready, and I said I did, and I lied. It's here somewhere. I'm going to find it.
Also, Appa wasn't the one that asked you. I did.
So
you're just all over the place.
all you co-hosts look the same.
This episode.
For
Here
those
it
of you
is.
listening
Already.
and not watching the VOD, Botticus and I immediately started shaking our head at the same time.
Yes, which I didn't see because I was
did not say
busy.
those words.
I was busy looking for the soundbite, which is right here, by the way.
By the holy light.
Wow, gold and legendary!
We're not worthy! We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
For those of you listening to the edited bit, you will never hear this or that because, of course, I had everything under control. For the patrons, give me a break. We've been casting for an hour. So, Appa, how's life in ladder?
It's good. I actually finally hit Legend tonight. Well, not tonight. Earlier this afternoon. I was messing around rank 2 because this month has been absolutely brutal. I've gotten up to the final boss for Legend 8 times and fell down to rank 4 on 2 separate occasions. And I was at rank 2 and I was like, I don't really want to play Miracle Rogue. I don't really want to play Mid-Range Hunter. I don't want to play Mind Blast Priest and queue up into Druids and Warriors. I'm just going to play something a little less like super high tier meta and a little more fun. So I picked up Odd Control Mage, and the list I found did not have Arcane Artificers in it. And I said, that's a mistake, and put those in there. They were really good. And I didn't lose a game from rank 2 4 stars up to Legend. But it was really funny because at rank 1 4 stars, I queued up into the mirror, and I had to take a little bit of a more aggressive line and use my Jan'alai and my Zola on stuff that I didn't really want to. I had to use my Jan'alai early, and I didn't have the Zola to copy it. And we got down into Fatigue, and they were one card ahead of me in Fatigue, but they had the Jan'alai and the Zola, so I had to deal with that. And after they had played the second Jan'alai, I just played a bunch of stuff onto the board, hit end turn, and then I waited, and I waited, and I waited, and my opponent roped. And then I took my turn, and then it said, your opponent left. And I said, we did it!
Whoa, legendary!
But that wasn't the game to get me into Legend. I wish it was, because that would have been way sweeter. But my last game, I queued up into Death Rattle Hunter, and managed to out aggro them, so it's pretty dope, beating an unfavorable to get into Legend. So I hit rank 1 5 stars 9 times this month. So if you think you're having a rough month, it happens to everybody. But I'm finally Legend and Standard on NA, so feels nice to have that fake pressure off my chest.
It's real pressure, just self-imposed pressure.
Yeah, that's true.
That happens. As for me, I have been playing some Hearthstone. There's a deck out there that Wickedgood was talking about it. It's mid-range Warlock. And he said, I like this deck a lot. And I said, that deck plays Soul Warden. Do either of you remember what Soul Warden does? It's a 6-mana 6/6
Yes.
that looks like a demon but is not a demon. And his battle
No, it
cry,
does.
put 3 cards in your hand that you discarded this game at random. Did you say no, it doesn't?
No, I said I know what it does.
Oh. Yeah, well, I'm telling the listeners, not you.
Well, I thought we were
Well,
playing another installment of Let's Stump Appa.
No.
Yeah, that's like, do you know what it does? Let me tell you what it does, even though you know what it does.
It's called a
Even though last
rhetorical
week-
question.
It didn't seem rhetorical. I thought you were gonna ask us, and then Appa was gonna be like, "Bam, I know what it is," and then say what it is for the listeners, so that you wouldn't have to. And then Appa looks smart instead of you just saying what it does, even though we know that you know what it does because you've been playing it.
Appa is smart, but that would have probably been better. Well, luckily we're recording this. Do you know what Soul Warden does?
I can't do it now. It's not
What?
legit. This is an organic podcast
This is
hat.
great.
It's
I
no
love this.
no GMOs.
This is my favorite.
It's your favorite that you make a suggestion and then I try and implement it immediately, get no sird. That's your favorite?
No, sir.
My favorite thing. I don't love making your job harder, but I like that Appa goes along with me. It's fun that we get to
Look,
mess around.
it's lighthearted trolling. It's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. We totally didn't needle Botticus for an entire bonus episode last week, so it's no big deal.
We needled him for a entire format.
Yes.
Whenever Call to Arms existed, okay?
I wanted to stop bringing it up.
So I honestly, the best thing about recording a bonus episode and then not posting it for a long time is I have no idea what you guys are talking about because I do not remember getting needled for that episode.
I named the title of the episode after your mispronunciation. Remember you called one of our patrons or one of our reviewers Needless Night?
Oh, yeah, that one.
Yeah.
That was
Needless
also
Night,
the
and
one
then you
where...
said, let's dive into it. Or
Yeah, dive into work. They were
Yes.
diving into work.
Yes. It was entertaining. Much like this is, I'm sure, for the Raw listeners, because none of this is making it into the final podcast. Not even a little bit of it. But
So Soul Warden in mid-range.
So
Warlock,
Soul
you were
Warden,
saying that.
now that we've established that we clearly all know what it does, it has Soul Warden in it, and this deck looks a little weird. It looks like a Cube Warlock, except they forgot the cubes in the Dark Packs, or it looks like Zoo, except someone's like, let's curve up to 10. There's Skull of the Minari in it. There's Doom Guards and Dreadlords and Void Lords. Just lots of Lords and Guards and stuff. Your early game is only Librarian and Soulfire. And otherwise, a bunch of value cards. You got your Hellfires, you got your Spellstones, Blood River Gul'dan, the Lich King, Lord Godfrey. And it's just curve Warlock. And at first you might think, well, discarding is really bad. What if you discard Gul'dan? But then you realize, I really hope that my Doomguard discards exactly Soul Warden and Gul'dan. Because then the second Soul Warden gets you another Soul Warden and another Gul'dan. And the
then you
value.
really just start going off.
It feels like Draconid Operative. It really, really does. Because you just start generating value over time. There were points where I would specifically save my discard cards for when my hand was full of juicy stuff and no more than one Soul Warden, so that when I drew the other one later, I would get some juicy stuff back. Recurring Lich Kings, recurring other Soul Wardens, even recurring Warlock Spellstones was really, really nice. And the deck also has double Hellfire, double Doomguard, double Soulfire. Sometimes you just kill people. So it was really fun to play, and I am 12-4 with it. I'm at rank 3 right now, which is the highest I've been in months.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to grab a list for that after this podcast because I was looking through some of the specialist Open Cup data because I've been keeping my own spreadsheet of what's popular, and there were a couple mid-range Warlock lists like this that made top 8. I think there were 2 of them like scattered around. But I saw the list and I was like, "What the heck is going on here? How is this good?" And then you sold me when you said Soul Warden getting Soul Warden and Gul'dan. I'm about it.
I've done that.
This
I've
deck
done that.
sounds
I
sweet.
think once. Yeah, it's super sweet. I've done that specific discard combo once, and I've done Soul Warden and Lich King once. There are a whole bunch of times where I've just generated absurd value, and the deck is an honest-to-goodness mid-range deck. But also you play Skull of Minari, and sometimes you just Void Lord on turn 5, and they're just like, nope, concede.
Yeah, being a grindy mid-range deck with a I win button versus aggro
Yeah.
seems like where I want to be right now.
Well, and you can also just high roll Keleseth on 2, and then your deck is even better. Surprise. I hate that card so much. Oh my goodness. But Botticus, what have you been
Deck
playing?
building challenge.
My deck building challenge! Yes. Let's not play 2-drops ever, and then my deck is better somehow. That is a challenge that I'm ready to not face anymore. I'll use a cheat code. It's called Year of the Dragon. Botticus, what have you been playing?
So I was listening to Appa last week talk about how broken Myra's Unstable Element and Preparation are, and decided I want to play those two cards. And then I played those two cards, and I won some games, and it was nice playing some Miracle Rogue, as it's such been called. That deck is sweet. Miracle Rogue is kind of good again, which I thought a couple weeks ago it wasn't, but I didn't give it enough opportunities, and Myra's is busted. So, been enjoying that. And then I heard Spivey on 1600 Dust talking about Pogo Rogo in Wild, and I found a list. I want to say it was from Ben Reddington, but I'm not positive on that. That I was playing in Wild for a bit, and then I was like, I am dying to things hitting me in the face and no way to get back in the game. Let's put this card called Ziliax in this deck, and then when I make my big Pogo Rogo, I put a Ziliax on it, and then I hit something, and I go back to full HP.
Oh, it's a mech. Oh my god.
Oh yeah. And I also added a couple of the 3-mana 1/5s that magnetize to give taunt, so I can make big taunty boys early so I don't die. And haven't had great success with it, but I've had a lot of fun. And now I really want to play some mid-range Warlock, and I can't wait to do that because that sounds sick. And Soul Warden, getting back Soul Warden and Blood Reaver Gul'dan just seems dirty.
It's so good. And then you just keep playing N'Zoths, Demon N'Zoths.
Yeah, you see, I was gonna play Odd Paladin in one of the Specialist Cups tomorrow, but I might just have to change my list.
Audible.
Yeah. Well, and you know what's good against Odd Paladin? Despicable Dreadlord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I need to go find these Specialist lists. I'm itching to play this one now.
Yeah. Though there's some other interesting decks that won. We'll talk about it. But there was one tournament, one day of tournaments where Mid-Range Hunter was only 1/3 of the winning decks. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But we have some news. Should we talk about the news? We should.
So there was a post made on the Hearthstone subreddit by Sam Braithwaite. Is that anybody?
Braithwaite.
Braithwaite.
Yes.
Who is the senior global franchise lead for Hearthstone Esports, and basically says that as they are preparing for the World Championships, they want to kind of bring up a subject that we've been talking about quite a bit on the cast over the past couple months of Shaxi and Roger. They have seen what the community has been talking about in regards to the kind of cheating scandal that happened when they were disqualified from the Hearthstone Global Games, and basically just kind of said that Roger will not be allowed to play in the upcoming Hearthstone Grandmasters, which is the highest level of competitive Hearthstone that they have. They felt that he rightfully earned his spot into the 2019 HCT World Championships with his win I believe it was 2 weeks ago at the Winter Championships. But they want the Hearthstone Grandmasters to be more of the highest level of competitive integrity in Hearthstone, and so they are kind of issuing out this punishment for Roger to not be able to participate in the Grandmasters. So this has been a subject we've been talking about a lot. What are your guys' takes on it? Appa, we'll go with you first because you've been the most, I think, probably the most vocal out of the three of us on this subject.
Okay, so like I talked about, I think in the episode right after the Winter Championships, I forget which episode that was. Was it 2 episodes ago? 178, I think. I basically said that even though I may not like Roger, I think he played pretty well for the most part. He had a few games at championships that were pretty shaky, but I mean, for the most part, he brought a good lineup and he played it pretty well. So in that sense, I think he earned the spot to go to Worlds. I don't think, like, personally, I think in an ideal world, it would have been nice to see like a quicker response instead of like waiting 5 months like they had to make it, like they have to make a statement. Just be like you just can't play in these playoffs or whatever coming up. But I mean, the like his name Sam Braithwaite, his online handle is Milkfat, and what Milkfat outlines in the Reddit post is like they administered a penalty based on what was in the rules at the time, and they thought that would be basically an acceptable like punishment for what was going on because that's what they had written down. So I mean, with all that taken into account, I think Roger did earn his place at Worlds within the system that had been going on. I don't like that the system allowed him to play in championships, but I mean, it is what it is. That's the world we live in, and I mean, he's going to Worlds, so there's nothing we can really do about that. But I do think it is nice that they finally said something. I mean, it's months late in terms of timeliness, but there being some sort of punishment outside of just getting disqualified from the global games like the Chinese Taipei team did, I think is good. Them not being able to compete in the highest level of the game, I think is an apt punishment for like the infraction that they had. I mean, I think all of this makes sense. I'm just disappointed in the timeliness of the communication, and it's better late than never, but late is way late in my opinion. I mean, I know this soured a lot of people's faith in the esports team in terms of competitive integrity, and I mean, only responding with like a Reddit post after this amount of time is not great. But I mean, the communication from the Hearthstone team in the past has been so poor that even this is like, well, I guess it's better late than never, even though it's 5 months late, which is really disappointing. But I mean, at the end of the day, I'm glad something happened and they addressed it at all.
It feels like they very easily could have just tried to sweep it under the rug and hope that it went away and hope that no other infractions occur. So at at least we're hearing something, which is kind of what you've been reiterating. And I think it's overall, I think it's okay that it doesn't sound like there's going to be any further infractions against him, but hopefully they keep a close eye on this and they monitor any forms of cheating kind of in the future and have a much faster response than this. Which, if they're posting here on Reddit like this, then I think that any instances of cheating will be taken very seriously and will hopefully be more transparent with the community and much quicker with punishments for anything like that to happen. And hopefully Roger sees what's happening, understands why it's happening, and can change from here. Because as much as I do believe in harsh punishments for cheaters, I also think that having a path to redemption should be something that is viable. And hopefully he just continues to be a good player without any of the shady business going on outside of the or inside the competitive scene. Do you have anything to add, Hat?
Well, and I'm glad that the punishment went also to Reall, who is also on the Chinese Taipei team. And this is a punishment for the win trading. It is not for the HGG. They made it pretty clear. This is not for the HG. The disqualification was deemed to be the punishment that was going to happen. But this is for the win trading in April 2018. And the specific paragraph I want to read from the Reddit post: we now realize that our previous rules around these scenarios and our enforcement of them did not meet the standards of our community. We take full responsibility for this. Moving forward, we will be reevaluating our rules for the 2019 season and are committed not only to improving, but also to being more transparent about the way we administer warnings, penalties, and rulings. Milkfat was not the head of Hearthstone Esports last year. Che Chow was. And the top comments on Reddit says, Che Chow was in charge for the entire year of 2018 and didn't do anything, and this guy is taking ownership on behalf of the corporation and fixing it going forward. Given...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, this is not an ideal situation to come into. I mean, I feel like community faith in like the esports team is probably at not an all-time low, but probably close, just because specialist is dominated by hunter. Really sucks, so it makes specialist seem like it's a worse format than it actually is. And then we have the stuff with Roger and Chinese Taipei just been lingering for a while. So I mean, to come in and like take ownership is really it's reassuring, and this community is going to demand a lot of him and the esports team. But I mean, this taking ownership and not just trying to sweep it under the rug, which they easily could have. They could have easily been like, we're Blizzard, screw what you think, we do whatever we want, like we have infinite money, shut up. But instead of doing that and just being like a really like ham-fisted corporation, he comes in and takes ownership, and he's like, look, our rules were not up to snuff with what people thought the punishments to be, so we're going to reevaluate that, and we're going to attempt to make changes from here on out. So I like the direction that this is going. It is bittersweet because it's so late, but again, it's better late than never.
And given what we recently found out about Hearthstone Grandmasters, this is a significant punishment with a whole bunch of financial implications for Roger and for Reall if he was going to be invited. It's a lot of money that they may very well be denying him. This is a real consequence. And a real consequence for cheating being administered by the new sheriff in town sends a clear message.
Yeah, and speaking of Hearthstone Grandmasters, while we don't have an official statement, we were just leaked today a bunch of information about Hearthstone Grandmasters. So keep in mind, as I go over this, this is leaked information. I don't know how reliable it is. It was leaked on a site called invenglobal.com, but there's a lot of information here. So Hearthstone Grandmasters is going to be composed of 2 seasons a year, each season lasting 8 weeks. There will be 16 players competing across 2 groups of 8. They will play twice a week, face off against each other. So this is a kind of a fill-in for the lack of tournaments going on. At least going to be more content putting out there, considering there's going to be a lot less major tournaments going on. Matches will be played during the weekend from Friday till Sunday. After the 2 seasons have ended, the players who perform worst in season 2 in the respective region will be demoted to no longer play in the Grandmaster tournaments, and then there will be global finals for Hearthstone Grandmasters, which we don't have full specifics on yet, but the format for this will be specialist and best of 3. Each players that are participating will earn $1,000 per week as an appearance fee, with an additional $500 for each match win given to the player, and the prize for the global finals will be $500,000, as well as most likely other rewards per seasonal performance. The invited players are as follows: Seiko, Board Control, Fino, Just Saying, Muzzy, Amnesiac, Casey, Colento, Tice, Frozen, Zalay, Purple, Bunny Hopper, RDU, Hunter Ace, Dog, Firebat, Bloodyface, Orange, Boston, Jarla, PNC, Nalgudan, Monsanto, Pavel, Silvername, Swids, and Seo Hoon.
And that's just who we know so far. It is only a partial list. It should be the full list for the Americas, partial for Europe, and we have no information yet on the Asia or China players.
Yeah, but that's quite the list. The big question I have, which it doesn't seem to say here, is that all of these names are obviously very well-known players, but how were they selected for this? Has it been posted anywhere? How these players specifically were posted? Or were
I'm not
selected?
sure, but looking over this list, I mean, they're either extremely popular, like competitive streamers, or they're previous like masters from the last season. Like I think most of them hit like either 1 or 2 star master. So it makes sense that they'd be in the Grandmaster League. But that's those are the only connections I can make from just looking at the list.
I think these are all golden card back players. I think every single one of these players has hit in an HCT finish or won a premier event. A players like Firebat and Dog aren't competing as much anymore, but they clearly have the pedigree. And these are not. They did not pick streamers that are primarily streamers and not people who compete. These are people with a history of competitive success. So they didn't go the Magic the Gathering Mythic Championship route where they invited variety streamers, right? Players that didn't have as much of a competitive background like Amaz to compete in these tournaments. These are 100% high-level pros at various stages of their careers.
I was gonna say the one name that kind of stands out to me that I'm not really sure how much Hearthstone he plays anymore is Pavel, which obviously, killer player, very good, can probably pick it up in a heartbeat. But it's not a name I've seen a ton of lately when it comes to competitive Hearthstone.
Well, and Dog has been playing mostly auto chess, but I am certain that he is still very, very good. Same with Pavel. With the paycheck on the table here, this is if you were the worst player in a season, that's $8,000. That's just the appearance fees. That is if you go 0-8 and do not compete in a future season. That is $8,000. And apparently, every win is $500, plus the prize pool, plus possible incentives. This is lucrative. This is a bunch of money. This is a lifestyle Hearthstone Pro tournament scene. And players that are not in the bottom 2 stay in it for the next season for the same year.
Yeah, as a competitor, I look at this and I'm just like, man, I want to be a part of this. I want to be in that so bad. But as a viewer, I think this is like fantastic for Hearthstone esports because all we've had for really the past couple of years is just like tour stops or random majors, and then which I mean, half those matches you didn't even know like 1 or 2 of the players that was on stream, and then we had like playoffs and champs, which are entertaining. But I think having a format like this is actually going to be really good for a viewing experience because all of these names are really well known. They're all incredible players, and I feel like this is like Hearthstone's Overwatch League, which is really cool to like kind of try and give players like living like while they're playing with the financial incentives as well. I think it's really cool as a spectator and definitely something I want to try and get in.
Yeah, it also
It's so
seems like
sweet.
it seems like it's a very digestible amount of content. It doesn't feel like it's going to be one big tournament that you kind of want to be watching from start to finish. It feels like something you can kind of just jump into a game you really want to watch between 2 players you're really interested in or somebody you're really rooting for, but it doesn't feel like you really have to kind of, even though you could, like watch every single match that's being played. It feels like just kind of a bunch of feature matches that are going to be happening every week that you just kind of get to enjoy, and the players are going to be playing at a very high skill level, and they're going to really want to win because an extra 50% bonus for winning your match seems like something where you're going to want to be practicing. Make sure you're bringing in a lineup that is going to have a chance to win. Even though I really hope that some of them who maybe aren't doing so well are just going to start bringing meme decks and trying to win with meme decks. I'm really excited for that situation to hopefully come up, or even semi meme decks that can still win. Oh, that'll be exciting.
They have to meet with the meme council to determine, is this Soul Warden deck a meme or not? To answer the question, I have no idea.
So, do we have anything else to talk about this? This is just a pretty cool thing. I'm pretty excited about this. What anything you guys want to add?
It just looks really cool, and I'm excited to watch it.
And this kind of answers the question of what they were planning on doing on weekends to stream that weren't the 3 championship weekends a year, the 3 master stops. This is how they're going to fill the time with familiar faces, consistent performance, specialist format. This is also how they're going to gather data on which decks are OP between formats. They will use this information between master stops and say, okay, what are players dominating with, because this is specialist format. And the variety of people that they are selecting here will allow true specialists. Casey is going to play Miracle Rogue. It's going to happen. And we get to see true masters at their craft and at their decks play it. I wish Zetalot came in, but he has not played again in enough tournaments. But we have some...
Oh, you want the priest main to come in? You want to watch some priest matches there, Hat?
Yeah, I want to watch him lose.
Speaking of Zetalot playing in tournaments, whenever I was going through some specialist data, I saw he just missed out on top 8 in one qualifier, and he was playing Quest Priest with Benedictus as the main deck plan. I think he went 6-2 and got like 10th or 11th or something.
Did you look at the duration of that tournament compared to others?
No, it's probably insane though.
That's a 70-minute round right there. Best 2 out of 3 Benedictus.
Oh, the Benedictus Odd Warrior matchup. Oh no.
Yeah.
Please no.
Well, and you got to be careful about the Benedictus, because you don't ever want to have to scream it into your opponent's deck and give them the Benedictus.
Yep. Next level plays.
Ugh.
All right. So the next news item we have on here is we have finally been given the Rise of Shadows card reveal schedule, and possibly the most exciting news is it's going to be kicking off.
Possibly?
Okay, definitely the most exciting news of this is on Monday. It's going to be kicking off at 10 a.m. Pacific, featuring our one and only Cora. Will be the main guest, getting to see all of these new cards as they appear. This just came out on Twitter. All 3 of us are just super excited. We're super happy for her. Only a little upset that this didn't happen sooner, because Cora is amazing, and I can't wait to watch this on Monday. She will be joined by Peter Whalen and Chris Sierra to get a sneak peek at a bunch of new cards from the new set.
I'm so hype. Where's my hype music?
Yeah,
I got some hype music.
This is dope.
So hype.
Wrong expansion, Hat.
But right level of hype.
Fair. we got to get some Rise of Shadows music ready for the next couple sets. So some of the other information that was put out is that other than one reveal tomorrow, they're going to basically start with that stream on Monday and span until April 2nd. And I believe they usually have the final card reveal stream on like a Thursday, if I'm remembering correct. So I'm expecting kind of a final reveal stream either on the 4th or the following Monday. I can't remember when they usually end up doing those, but we're about to have a bunch of new cards coming at us real quick.
Yeah, they'll do something. The set comes out, I believe, on the following Tuesday, on the 9th, if I recall. Is that correct? We can just look this up. We have the internet. Rise of Shadows release date.
So overall, there's going to be 42
Yes.
community cards reveals, which feels to me, I don't know if it's just that the pictures were bigger, but it just felt like it was so much more than usual. It feels like they're giving out more cards for people to reveal than usual, which I think is exciting. Just having more card reveals going out is kind of sweet. Who knows? Maybe one day they'll give out card reveals to podcast.
Maybe. And this is definitely more. I just looked up the Witchwood card release schedule, and there were, 25 cards the first week, and it looks like about this a little bit more than the second week. Actually, no, it's not more, but it's more compressed, because this is over a 7-day period or so. It's a pretty tight period. We've got the reveal stream on the 21st. And then starting the 26th, we've got a week of reveals and then probably a final stream and a dump. and it's moving along at a pretty steady pace. I think in terms of pacing that we've had so far, with League of Explorers being one extreme, where they announced it and then released it the next Thursday, and the other extreme being the drip feed that we got with Whispers and Knights of the Frozen Throne as well. I remember that taking forever. We saw Rexar and Ticking Abomination, and then just had to wait for a while. This feels like the right cadence where they're able to build up the hype for it, and then before you know it, the set's going to be here in 3 weeks.
Yeah, I'm super hyped. We've gotten a couple cards since recording last week. Not a ton, but a few cards that we'll be able to talk about later in the decksplanation segment. But we'll get one tomorrow, and then next week we're just going to be flooded with new, fun, interesting cards to talk about, which I'm excited for. Yeah, and then the last news item we have here is the Tavern Brawl this week is a new one. It's called Battle of the Bands, which is a pretty interesting concept. So you build your deck, which is 4 cards, no duplicates. And then at the start of the game, your opponent gets to ban one of the cards that's in your deck. And I played this just before, and the way it worked for me is it showed 3 cards and a blank card, and you had to choose either one of those 3 cards or an unknown card, the opponent's unknown 4th card. And yeah, and then it builds the deck. 10 of each card goes into your deck, and you play from there. It's pretty interesting. I was trying to kind of think of different combinations, which I know there's a few people posting those on Twitter, but I think the most interesting part is kind of the opening ban phase. This is kind of something I had thought of for if they were to ever do a tournament mode type thing. And they were allowing bans. Obviously, with the new specialist format, that's not going to happen. But it's kind of interesting that they're messing around with different tavern brawls and different things you can do in the tavern brawl that we haven't really seen before. Have either of you had a chance to either play this brawl or maybe think of some combinations of cards to bring in? Appa, you're shaking your head. What do you think?
Yeah, I played this once earlier today, and I put Tunnel Trog, Totem Golem, Jade Claws, and Jade Lightning into my deck, and then my opponent lost very quickly. They banned my Tunnel Trog in the ban phase, and that was not even close to the best card in my deck, because I just kept playing Jade Claws every single turn. Just kill your minion, make the thing.
Move over, Archvillain Rafam. We have a new most evil person, and that is Appa, who decided to shark the Tavern Brawl.
Look, my opponent had Mana Worm, Babbling Book, Primordial Glyph, Sorcerer's Apprentice. So
you are more evil.
Bad.
It is not even a little close. Mana Worm costs 2. 2 mana.
I still banned that one, and then they lost very easily.
It's the most
because
evil
they
deck.
Played a Sorcerer's Apprentice, and then I made a thing and killed their thing.
Yeah, the most evil deck that I've seen so far on Hearthstone top decks is Mech Hunter, because this is wild legal. Galvanizer, Mech Warper, Metaltooth Leaper, and Ziliax. Though also you could go with any 1-mana beast, probably Alley Cat or Timberwolf, Crackling Razormaw, Scavenging Hyena, and Master's Call to go get more. And the funniest deck that I've seen on Hearthstone top decks is Kobold Librarian, Soul Infusion, Prince Keleseth, and Doubling Imp, and the person replied to himself saying, Keleseth doesn't work, because it shuffles 10 Keleseths into your deck. So don't do that.
Yeah, the first thing I tried was High Priest, the call,
And Molten Giant.
Discard. No.
Oh, Jeklik.
No, that High Priestess Jeklik. Yeah, and Soulfire, Cataclysm, and draw 3. Solarium. And that would have worked if I didn't fill up my hand too much, which I did because I kept discarding Jekliks and getting too many in hand, and I burned too many Soulfires. But I think the kind of the one thing I wanted to say about this is that I saw a while ago, Meaty made a post that said something along the lines of, imagine if Hearthstone didn't think of a new didn't put out a new Tavern Brawl every week. And I had agreed with his post up until he said that, and it upset me a bit, because I think that Tavern Brawls like this show that they're experimenting with new things, and this gives them a playground where they can mess around and do stuff like a Tavern Brawl where you get to ban a card, and it might be able to actually work into the game at a later date and be a very valuable asset to the game of Hearthstone. So I just wanted to say I really appreciate that they're trying to think outside the box with some of these Tavern Brawls and really give us something different that you haven't seen before.
Yeah, I also appreciate that they're doing things for the casual player and not just the competitive player, because I play Hearthstone mostly just for the competitive aspect. I mean, I do play Arena here and there and play casually from time to time, but I mean, even if it doesn't like appeal to me, it appeals to a lot of people. So I mean, I just appreciate that they're having fun with stuff, trying out different things, and giving casual players a fun place to just play around.
Yeah, this is cool. I like banning things, and this is one of the deck building challenges that I think is a good deck building challenge. And there are some cards actually that are natively banned. You can't play Patches.
Jade Idol.
Patches, obviously. Jade Idol, Ice Block, Timeout, and Whizbang the Wonderful. Because ice blocking and timeouting would be unpleasant things to do. I do remember in one of the first You Pick 2 brawls, a friend of mine wanted to play a game. She is way more casual. And so, of course, like any good griefer, I did Ice Lance and Ice Block. And at the end of that game, she said, I don't want to play anymore. And I'm glad that they removed that experience. And yes, I did grief my friend. And
oh, that's messed up.
Wow.
I tried to feel bad about it, but I didn't then, and I don't now. So
I actually remember doing this one because I played against one of my friends too, and I was asking them, I was like, "What do you want to play against?" And they were like, "I don't know." And I said, "Do you want it to be like super fast and over quickly and broken?" And they were like, "Sure." And then I put Rock Biter and Whirling Zap-O-Matic in a deck. They did not make it. So
ooh.
I also
Was that
griefed
one
my
mana Rock
friend,
Biter?
yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
they took a lot.
Yep, that's some damage right there. But yeah, this is really cool, and also is experimenting with functionality, and the fact that they can do that, and this is PTR, is an awesome thing that I'm glad they're doing.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's it for the news this week. Why don't we move on into tournaments?
It's the Grand Tournament!
Okay, so there were some tournaments this week. We will talk about them. I do also have a quick hit that was fitting for the end of the year of the Mammoth, but going forward as well, we have the opportunity to truly make the competitive side of the game more accessible to you by going over the Masters Qualifiers, which are tournaments that we can all play in. You can expect a review of the evolving tournament meta in the Masters Qualifiers, along with some anecdotes about Specialist format and what is currently working a lot, as well as with the players in that format, to be a regular fixture of our show, so you can tune in and get an idea of what you have to play against. Right now, it's Hunter. It's a lot of Hunter. But in the future, it will likely be less Hunter, and also more other things that are not Hunter. So, you can expect Specialist format review of the Masters Qualifier specifically, as they are the most accessible tournament, to be a cornerstone of our show going forward, so that we can help you play, win, hopefully qualify. But WESG finished. Both the co-ed and the women's division finished this past week in a 10-day grand final tournament with qualifications all year long, and Purple took the trophy over Malygos TW in the 10-day finals tournament. Darong took the women's finals trophy over Baby Bear. She's a Korean player. Playoffs were best of 5 conquest, And in the co-ed division, Alex took third and Justine took fourth. We don't have the full bracket for the women's, but Justine took third and took home the bronze. Now, as far as the WESG tournament meta, again, this is Conquest. Not super applicable, but interesting. Especially the women's, honestly. For the co-ed division, Purple played Togwaggle Druid, no Hakar, Cube Hunter, Big Spell Mage, and Xerix Priest, the Vivid's Nightmare build, which is now standard. Malygos took the finals, but played in the finals, but did not win, with Cube Hunter, Quest Rogue, Xerix Priest, and even Warlock. For the women's, lineups are definitely different, and you want to see an evil lineup. Darong played Cube Hunter, Secret Paladin, Cube Rogue, and Cube Warlock. Cube, and Divine Favor. Again, evil. Baby Bear, Mid Hunter, Odd Mage, Odd Paladin, and Odd Rogue. We have a whole bunch of boogeymen involved.
Also quite evil with Baku.
Yes.
And Rexar.
Yeah. But against Cube, and Divine Favor, I don't know who is the most evil there. We will talk about the Secret Paladin in specific as well during the quick hit section. The evolving tournament meta, now we're going to go from back in time forward to the current day, and we have daily summaries again. These are from Shanghai HS, that's SHANGHIGHHS on Twitter, has these graphical summaries, and Ikutapaska, I'm not going to try and spell that because I don't have it written down, on Twitter as well, has kind of the minute-to-minute links, and Yay Tears deck building tools. We'll have all of those in the show notes on a permanent basis so you can access them. On the 15th, this was the most recent day the oldest day we didn't cover. Hunter, and Hunter. 33 of the 48 top 8 decks between the 6 qualifiers were Hunter, 21 mid-range, 11 cube. 5 of those 6 qualifiers were won by mid-range Hunter, and the 6th was won by Cube Hunter. Kind of unpleasant. Paladin briefly became the second most played class. There were 5 odd Paladins and 1 even in the 6 tournaments in the top 8, including 1 top 8 that had 3 odd Paladins total. Rogue was right behind. Warlock and Warrior each had 1 to 2 decks. No mages, no shamans. There was 1 Taunt Druid and 1 top 8. But this was again the story of the Hunter. And the next day, 6 more tournaments, 6 more Hunter wins, 5 more Mid-Hunter, 1 more Cube Hunter. 31 of the 48 decks were Hunter, 24 of those 31 were mid-range. Rogue jumped back up to second place, with Miracle Rogue having 5 copies represented while Odd had 2. But there's hope, or at least there's variance. The most recent data from the 17th, 27 of the 48 top 8 decks were still Hunter, 16 of those were mid, 9 of those were cube, but there was a Secret Hunter, there was an Odd Hunter, and Mid Hunter only won 2 of the qualifiers, no wins from Cube Hunter, a win from Odd Warrior, a win from Miracle Rogue, a win from Cube Rogue, and 1 from Malygos Druid. Now, this is likely the exception rather than the new rule, and as of week 2, Hunter is still more than 50% of the meta, and still winning more than 50% of the time. It is the most played and the best win rate. Rogue is the second best class, but only has a 50.3% win rate, whereas Hunter is about 52%, and Paladin is at 50.1%. Nothing else has a win rate over 50%. And Priest is the second most popular class. It is the 10% most played, 10% of the meta, and it's getting really punished by the proliferation of rogues, and it is at a win rate of 48% of its matches. So unfortunately, this tournament format is about as solved as it gets. And if you are not playing Mid-Hunter, you need to have a really, really good reason for not doing so. We have some information as well. Lorinda on Twitter is keeping some pretty detailed stats. There is a player that has played in 32 Masters qualifiers. 32. There have been a little over 50, which means this player has played in more than half of all of the qualifiers. That's a lot of Hearthstone. 1 who has played in 31, 4 have played in 30. Xerios has only played in 27 qualifiers, but also has top-8'd multiple, has played 150 Masters qualifier matches. 150. There are 4 other players over 130, but this means Xerios is making consistent deep runs, but over 27 qualifiers, multiple top 8s. He is the top of the yikes list, as Lorinda calls it, who has not qualified. So Xerios, we're pulling for you. We really hope that you make it, because that's a lot of Hearthstone. Man. And we do have a quick hit game. The finals of the women's tournament for WESG. The last game the last match, Game 5, Secret Paladin versus Odd Control Mage, a fitting send-off to the Year of the Mammoth. Durang's opener has 3 cards that I want to point out. One is Divine Favor, the other is Divine Favor, and the third is King Mukla. And he goes bananas on turn 2 with the coin, facing down a couple of Fireflies. Now, turn 3 and turn 4, I want to point out the Big Spell Mage's choices here. On turn 3, a banana, a 2 damage ping, and a double trade will kill Mukla, but instead Mukla survives. Tar Creeper gets played. Traded in, the Maul, the unidentified Maul rolls taunt, not very good, but even though Mukla is down to a 5-2 trading to that Tar Creeper, Baby Bear does not ping down the 5-2, does not buff her minions, plays a second Tar Creeper. Now, I'm not sure if there's any particular reason for this. It gets buffed with the banana, so it's a 4-6, and that means Mukla dies and take a charge of the hammer. And I believe that that Baby Bear is trying to empty cards out of her hand. But both Tar Creepers get smashed by the King of the Apes. Baby Bear is emptying her hand, drops those bananas, only has about 4 cards in hand. Top deck Call to Arms walks right into a Dragon's Fury, but that means Divine Favor can finally happen, only for 4 cards, and the Mage hand is super awkward. Blast Wave, Double Blaze Caller, and Astromancer. Really, really slow cards, and Astromancer and a 4-card hand. If you're playing around Divine Favor, you're also making Astromancer way less good. When Astromancer comes down the following turn, gets a Hoarding Dragon. It's the best 4-drop you could get, I think. 4 mana 5-6, but it's very bad against Sunkeeper Tarim, which comes down and buffs both Secret Keepers, trade into the Dragon, face for 3. The Mage's hand continues to look awkward. The Paladin draws a Vine Cleaver, as well as a Knife Juggler, and Vine Cleaver is really good in Secret Pally. Even though Blast Wave gets a second Dragon's Fury, just makes one out of nowhere, that clears the board, the hand left for the Mage, Blazecaller, Ziliax. Terrible hand. And Vine Cleaver is still up, really, really good. Blessing of Kings on an Amani Berserker. Call to Arms gets top decked, and then after the Vine Cleaver gets depleted, Unidentified Maul gives +1 damage to 7 minions, and Coin Divine favors 3 new cards, one of which is Fungalmancer. Flame Strike does not kill a 6-7 Amani Berserker, which becomes a 10-3. Fungalmancer, plus the last charge of a weapon, is lethal. So, double Divine Favor in the opening hand, still good. Odd Mage, still awkward in terms of the removal it had, and the Blaze Callers just looked terrible all game long. They were just sitting in hand, not doing anything. Clearly not the best matchup for it. Secret Paladin just too efficient. It was entertaining to watch. I didn't highlight any of the games from the Purple and Malygos TW match because it was all combo decks versus non-combo decks, and the combo decks won every time. And even though some of those games were interesting, the end result were really boring. So, I wanted to talk about this one, where one deck was trying to play minions, and the other deck was trying to stop minions, but one deck had 3 mana draw a new hand, and did that twice, and they won the game. Big surprise. Also, there was another
6 mana draw 7, still pretty good, especially when you're purposefully getting rid of cards in your hand to try to make it not as good.
And when your opponent gives you 2 coins because you tear him their Hoarding Dragon. And we had another tournament that actually played today, the Concede Strike Listener Series. We casted that right before the podcast day. Great fun. Markshire took it in 4 over Momo's dad, and that was Strike format. If you don't know Strike format, both players bring 3 decks. You don't ban decks, you ban matchups. So, for example, Markshire had Malygos Druid, Mind Control Priest, or Mind Blast Priest, and Cube Hunter, and really did not want to play against Even Paladin, so banned Even Paladin against their Druid and their Hunter. But not banning the deck entirely, just banning those specific games. And the remaining 5 games after both players get 2 bans have to be played out. It was really entertaining to watch, and Markshire demonstrated why Priest is okay because it goes face sometimes. So definitely check it out. Really fun, and Strike format was interesting. We have our Specialist series going right now, and this has been successful enough that I think we're going to keep doing these on a rolling basis because soon we'll have new cards, and we all want to play with new cards. And it's a very fun and casual environment where players can just really try out whatever they want to do, and you can meme a little bit if you want. It's okay.
I really like the Strike format. I really hope the Specialist being kind of the new popular thing, even though I know some of our follow-up tournaments will likely mostly be specialist formats. I really hope that we're able to do another strike tournament because it just seems very interesting. There's a lot of different ways you can think about it, and hopefully that doesn't go away completely.
Yeah, I don't think most people had a chance to play it, and this is the first that I ever got to interact with it. It is tremendously fun. It promotes a lot of communication with your opponent, which in our environment is really positive, I think. And it's just interesting. It's just so different because it's deterministic as a format. There's no randomness in what am I queuing because you have to play all 5 of your games. That matchup is happening whether you want to play it first or last. It was fascinating to be a part of, and I agree that I think we'll do something again. And that's all I have for the tournament section. And we only have 3 cards for the decksplanations section, but one of them is a juicy shaman card, so I imagine we won't have too much trouble filling up the time. What do you think, Appa?
Yeah, it is. This card's sweet.
All right, let's go before we get started.
So, like Hat alluded to, we have a sweet Shaman Legendary card that got revealed. We only have 3 this week, so it's going to be a little bit of a shorter show, but I'm sure we're going to have a good bit to talk about with these. So,
Famous last words.
Do we want to go with Hagatha first?
No, last. Save the best for last.
Okay, cool. So the first one is called Lazul's Scheme. It is a priest epic spell. It costs 0 mana, and it says reduce the attack of an enemy minion by 1 until your next turn, and it upgrades every turn, like all the other schemes. So this is an interesting card that will allow you to still be able to have Cabal Shadow Priest turns, because Twilight Acolyte's rotating out, and that was the main tool that you had to use with Shadow Priest. So this one, if you keep it in your hand, can potentially combo with a Shadow Priest to steal a really big minion later on, or if you draw it in the mid game, maybe shrink a medium-sized minion after a couple turns and then steal it. I think this has some interesting applications.
So I've been thinking about this card a bit because I'm trying to figure out. The first impression is this is not worth a card. That is the first impression. That it is really bad if you top deck it. Costs 0 mana but doesn't really do much. Priest doesn't usually have a lot of board presence in terms of slowing the game down and only targets a single minion. That's assuming you've had it in hand for a while. So where are the applications? Why would I want to play this card? And I've thought of Cabal Shadow Priest is the obvious one. You could Shadow Madness. You're still going to have access to Divine Spirit Inner Fire, but it's going to be obviously much worse without Shadow Visions. Just in terms of minimizing the damage from a single minion and being able to maybe reduce something low enough that Northshire Cleric can draw some cards. Maybe there is some kind of minion-based priest deck that will be able to trade with stuff. It's almost like a really, really weird hunter's mark that's hard to use. I don't know. It's
a 0 mana card, and
Yeah.
what we all know about 0 mana cards is even the unassuming ones can be pretty scary because it's 0 mana, and you can just do 0 mana whenever. You can do it on whatever turn you want. And cards that are still going to be in the format that care about 0 mana cards, Auctioneer is one that you always look for 0 mana cards when you're doing anything involving Auctioneer. And Priest is still going to have quite a few. Still has Circle of Healing. Still other 0 mana cards that it cares about. Wild Pyromancer. Acolyte of Pain has been something that Priest has generally been a fan of doing as of late. And then also we look at Grave Horror as a card that really wants you to spend a lot of spells early to be able to reduce its cost, and then Questing Adventurer. So there's lots of uses for 0 mana cards. It's just a matter of making sure that you're able to use the card to some sort of benefit. And also just being able to Cabal Shadow Priest on turn 6 is extremely valuable, because you used to have to either kind of shrink the minion and then steal it the next turn, or wait till turn 9. So I could see it seeing some use depending on what the format looks like.
So what you're saying is we should all play Miracle Priest.
I mean, Lyra's
Look, we have
Lyra's
Banana
rotating.
Buffoon.
Oh yeah, we do.
Still have Banana Buffoon.
Oh, you mean that Dragon Soul is rotating, right? That's what you meant to say.
No, Lyra's rotating. That's the one that matters. We tried
Oh.
Wicked Good, and I tried Dragon Soul a few times. Him quite a bit more often than I did, but we both attempted that at some point in our priesting careers, and that did not go particularly well.
I want 5/5s to be good.
You know what's cool with Lazul's scheme? You'll never be weak to a 4-attack minion again. Even if you top deck it,
Yes.
you can kill a Twilight Drake with Shadow Word Pain.
Well, you can wombo
we
combo
already-
this with forbidden words. You can scheme in words, and you can play 2/0 mana cards and kill anything as long as scheme's been in your hand for a while. It's awkward.
Also, works with Topsy Turvy too.
Yeah.
Topsy Turvy to get the old Doomsayer trick, kill the Doomsayer with the Topsy Turvy, or the Crazed Alchemist is what people used to kill it with.
I feel like this is going to be one of the first decks I make when the new expansion comes out. It's just like
I
the
know
zero
what your
cost
first
cards.
deck's gonna be, Appa. We
Yeah.
all know what your first deck is gonna be.
that's why I said one of the first, because first is reserved for the old Shutterwalk Battlecry value deck.
But why don't we get into the other card before we go into the swamp?
Yeah, so the second card that was revealed is called Oblivitron. It is a Hunter legendary mech. It is a 6-mana 3/4 with Death Rattle. Summon a mech from your hand and trigger its Death Rattle. So I don't know about this card. I don't see like a ton of ways to abuse it in standard, like after rotation, but I think this card looks really abusable in wild somehow. I don't have quite the galaxy brain enough to figure out how to do it, but I'm sure I'm going to play against something on Wild Ladder where it's just like, Oblivitron, you're dead.
But don't... And in standard, we just play this with a Spider Bomb, and that is great. That is really, really good.
Or a Mech Cthulhu. Putting in a Mech Cthulhu for less than 10 mana seems pretty decent. Even if you're not using it to trigger the Death Rattle, just getting a 10/10.
Yeah.
We know how much Hunters like to put 10/10s into play.
Well, so the
early.
Death Rattle wouldn't trigger because you have an Oblivitron in play. So it is only summon a 10/10, but it is still summon a 10/10.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying is that
Or you
summoning
could
a
get
10/10 is
a-
pretty good.
You get a
As
Bulldozer.
just another. Yeah, there's just a lot of kind of interesting things, and it also, if there's going to be more Death Rattle synergies for Hunter, I think this card is kind of just cool. I don't know, it seems a little lackluster because paying 6 mana for just a 3/4, and if you're not able to trigger it right away and have something awesome happen, then that's worrisome. But it doesn't put Flark into play. But Flark is a card that you probably want in a deck that's playing this if you're making use of a bunch of Death Rattle synergies. What is the Hunter card that's in Wild that's 2 mana, trigger all of your Death Rattles?
Feign Death.
Feign Death. So if we have like a Feign Death type of effect, I could see a Death Rattle focused deck that plays like Boommaster Flark, and this card that puts into play Spider Bombs or Mech Cthulhu's, or just kind of like value go face deck.
I just
can deal a lot of damage out of nowhere.
I just hope that this is part of a like larger package of mech cards that are coming into standard to stimulate the mech economy. Because I really just want to play with the mech cards. I think they're all pretty solid. I think we haven't really had a good enough reason to play with them for a while, but I like a lot of them, and I mean, if they get too out of hand, we just put EMP Operative in our decks.
So getting the damaged Stegatron is a 5/12 taunt. The battle cry does not trigger. Getting Explodinator is kind of cool, though it doesn't trigger. There's no death rattle. Kaboom Bot and Spider Bomb. Spider Bomb seems like the biggest obvious win to me. Mechanical Whelp, is that rotating?
No, that one was
No,
in.
that's from
Boomsday. Mechanical Whelp
Most of the mechs are gonna still be good because
Mechanical Whelp is kind of gross, right? That is
Yeah, that
6
card's
mana,
quite good.
and you get a 3/4, a 2/2, and a 7/7.
Yeah,
I
it's
feel-
really
I've-
a matter of like, are you going to be too far behind because you played a 6 mana 3/4?
Yeah.
So I figured out what I'm doing with this card in Wild. I'm gonna get up to turn 10. This is gonna be my big finish. I'm gonna go Spirit Singer Umbra, Oblivitron, pull out Sneeds.
Boom.
That's the
We
kind
did
of
it.
player I am. Is that the most broken thing I'm trying to do is to get some legendaries and some big boys.
Yeah. Well,
But I don't know. The card is kind of sweet. I don't know. Obviously, we need context, but it's definitely interesting, and I look forward to seeing what people come up with. How to make best use of this card, and I expect there to be more mechs because Dr. Boom is in the set. While it is likely that he is in Warrior still, I'm assuming.
well, I assume that he will be building a lot of robots. And also, what's interesting about this card, this does not say random. You choose.
Do you?
It says summon a mech.
You
You
can't.
sure?
No,
because
no. There's
some
no
stuff's
way
been
because
templated like that before, and it's been random.
yeah, it's
Hmm.
got to be random because you got to think that if it triggers on your opponent's turn, you can't make any actions, so you wouldn't be able
Yeah.
to choose the mech.
Oh, and this is a death rattle too. Man.
Yeah, it's when it dies. It's not when you play it. Otherwise, that
Yeah.
would be
I mean, death
that would be
rattling.
better.
Yeah.
If it
Yes.
was a battle cry,
Yes.
it would be
It would
better.
be a better card. I mean, as of right now, getting spider bombs and mech whelps seems like the best way to abuse the card. If it is random, then yeah, I mean a 6 mana 3/4 is pretty far behind. I don't know. I really hope that this is a thing and that Hunter Legendaries being good wasn't just a thing for last year. And Shaw.
I hope this is a thing because that means the format's real toned down, and being grindy in this way is good. And I hope that's the case.
I want Boommaster Flark to be good. I want to just play Boommaster Flark and then be like, "You're dead to all of these."
Yeah, you can be like, get
Boom.
flarked.
Yeah. But really, we're here to talk about one card. I think all
Yeah, we
three of
are.
us are super excited about it, but I know one person who's real excited.
I'm going to put it on the
about
screen and mute my mic for a few minutes.
We're here to talk about the queen. That is Swamp Queen Hagatha. Swamp Queen Hagatha is a 7 mana shaman legendary card. It's only a 5/5, but it has a really sweet battle cry. And this is something they're experimenting with that they haven't really done before. Her battle cry is add a 5/5 horror to your hand, and you teach it 2 shaman spells. And what that means is you play this 7 mana 5/5, you get a 5/5 in your hand, and you discover 2 shaman spells. You discover twice. So say you have an option of like lightning bolt, lava burst, bloodlust, insane discover options. But just for an example, you can pick the bloodlust, and then say the next time you have earth shock, totemic might, and then I don't know, healing rain. Let's say you need to get through like a big taunt and you have a wide board, then you pick bloodlust and earthshock, and then the next turn when you get to play the 5/5, it'll cast bloodlust and you get to target something with earthshock. So it casts both your spells at the same time. So needless to say, there is a lot of incremental value to be had here, and this is exactly my kind of card. And this is why Botticus was saying, we know what the first deck I'm making whenever the new set drops, because it's going to start with Hagatha, Swamp Queen Hagatha, and Shudderwalk, and 27 other cards. And yeah, I'm really excited for this one. even if the format's like a little quicker, I mean, we've seen cards even in the fastest of formats from like the past year, where we've played like in the format where we had Raza Priest and Tempo Rogue and stuff like that. People were playing Big Spell Mage with like Dragon Caller Alana as a finisher. So like even in a fast format, if your finisher is good enough, even if it's slow, then you'll be able to play it. And while I don't think this is particularly a finisher, I think it's good enough mid-game value in a variety of situations that you'll probably just stick it into most shaman decks, barring something crazy happening in the format. Yeah, I mean the initial body is a little small. Like a 5/5's not too weak. If like think of this as like an Ancient of Lore, right? It's a 7 mana 5/5, comes down, effectively draws you like one. Well, you for sure draw the 5/5, and then depending on what spells you get, you draw an extra like 1 or 2 cards. So I think a comparison to Ancient of Lore is probably pretty fair. And I mean that card was really good. Like this is a legendary, so you won't get it all the time, but when you do get it, I think your games will start to not really like warp around it, but it'll give you definitely a boost of value in the mid game that you may or may not need at the time. And then sometimes you'll just cheese out some wins with like double burn or like bloodless burn or something like that. But yeah, I'm really excited for this card. This is the shaman card I've been waiting for a while.
And some things to note about this card, just so that everybody knows: if one of your if you choose for your first option something that targets, your second option will not include any spells that target. So you cannot get like a double lava burst, because there's no real way for them to have you select 2 different targets. They could do what they've done in the past, where it just targets the same thing that you choose, but they've clarified that you will get you may not get something that targets in the first selection, but if you choose something that targets in the first selection, your second one will not include something that targets.
That's actually really important. I did not know that, and that opens up a really wide variety of like blowouts to happen more frequently. Because like if you pick some of the targets, then you have like Lightning Storm, Healing Rain, like any AoE if they print one. You have just Bloodlust, Stormbringer. Whew. Oh, Stormbringer. Oh, somebody take the mic from me. I can't.
I was you were thinking Ancient Allure, which I think is a better comparison than I was thinking of. I was just thinking of slightly overcosted 5/5s with very big effects, like let's say Thaurissan or Sylvanas have traditionally been extremely powerful cards. And while this might not be on the same level as those 2 cards specifically, the 5/5 body I think is very important for Hagatha. It's something that that is just very, very good in general. It's a demanding presence. It's demanding presence. It demands attention. Whereas, for instance, the Oblivitron we were just talking about, the 3/4 body is not as. It's kind of a little more sketchy. It's more easily dealt with. Whereas playing a 7 mana 5/5, you don't feel too bad that you're getting not as much value on the body as normal. And then the 5/5 horror is just almost always going to be a very powerful effect. You have a very good chance of at least getting one thing that is quite powerful, and some of the combinations are just gross. Like I saw Reign of Toads, Stormbringer is a pretty sick one. Even what's the one that makes 2/1/1s with Rush?
Volcanic Burst. No, Voltaic Burst.
Yeah, Voltaic Burst plus Stormbringer is also kind of cool. And then I'm just thinking of ways. I was really sad that I looked up when Zola was rotating and Zola was in Kobolds and Catacombs, because I was like 7 + 3. That's perfect. We can make 2 Hagathas, and then Shutterwalk makes more things. Oh, also to clarify, the 5/5 that is generated, that you will get an identical 5/5 with your Shutterwalk. You will not choose. You do not choose again. It's not, and it's also not 2 random spells. You will get the same 5/5 generated into your hand.
I don't think that's correct. It's not correct.
That's what was
No,
clarified.
if it's returned back to your hand, if it's sapped, you keep that Hex Fiend. But if you play Shudderwalk, you get a new random 5/5 Hex Fiend. I'm reading the tweet. Yeah, so when you make a Hex Fiend, that is printed on the card. If that card gets sapped and you get it back to your hand, you cast those same 2 spells again. But Shudderwalk, replaying Hagatha, you don't choose again, but you get a new random 5/5 Hex Fiend. But Shudderwalk also casts the spells from the first Hex Fiend if you played it. Cast those same 2 spells. So if you get a Hex Fiend that's Lava Burst Bloodlust, and you play it, your Hagatha triggers, you get a new random 5/5, but also you cast Bloodlust and Lava Burst because that was on the last Hex Fiend. So it's basically it's printing a new card that has a fixed feature, but Hagatha's ability doesn't lock itself into what that card made. If that makes sense.
This is so cool. I love this card.
Yeah.
This probably became my second favorite card. Thunderhead got knocked down to 3.
Well, and
OG Hagatha is 1, and this one's number 2 now.
And the lore of this is super cool too. You see what Hagatha's been doing. She's teaching her magic to evil lackeys. There are people that are there. She is doing evil things, and she is teaching. I love how they phrased the card. It's not super intuitive, but I don't think there's any way you could phrase this to be super intuitive, because the Hearthstone has to handle the operation. If you printed exactly what happened in the card, it would be like 2 paragraphs. Can't do that. So instead, just teach a new thing some spells, and that Hex Fiend is going to cast those spells. It's cool. I like it.
I'm so excited to play with this. This is going to be the one I craft golden.
Well, and
for sure.
It's just value. You're basically making a 7-mana 5/5 to draw 3 spells all duct taped together. Make a 5/5 and do 2 things. And that is a lot of value. Now, it's not a tempo card. I'll tell you that for sure. This is not a tempo card. You're playing a 5/5 on turn 7. But it's fine.
Shaman's not a tempo class anymore. They nerfed Totem to 3 mana. So
Yeah.
rip that.
Slow tempo.
Slempo? We're a Slempo deck? Is that what we're doing?
No, it's not what we're doing. It's actively not. We're never...
But why? Why would you do that? Why would you do
We're
any of
never
that?
Slempoing.
It's anytime you say that, I'm cutting it out of the show. I'm just with a knife. You done?
Yeah.
Okay. Don't say it. I will cut it. Yeah, I really like what they're doing with this card. It's hard to tell, will Shaman be good enough, because Blizzard said, and in particular in the Value Town interview, Dean Ayala, Ixar, specifically said, we're not really sure what Shaman does. And this card indicates to me it is a mid-range value deck. This is a mid-range value card.
Please.
But
Please go
yeah.
in this direction for Shaman. This is all I want for the holidays. This is the only holiday wish I have, is for Shaman to actually just be a mid-range class. Just screw the totem stuff, screw the stupid freeze memes. Just give me some incremental value and we'll figure it out.
Yeah. There has to be something for Shaman to consistently do. It's been an aggro class when they printed too many overload design mistakes. It's been a mid-range class when they made a bunch of, well, aggro design mistakes and Thunderbluff Valiant. And
Thunderbluff Valiant, it's so sad because that was like the perfect Shaman card for
Yeah.
a really long time. And then it just had everything else around it, and it was like, oh, this curve topper is unbeatable because I have to deal with everything else. But like, Thunderbluff Valiant's like exactly the kind of card I want to see. It's like super fair if you don't have the stupid busted aggro starts before it, and it's just like turns your totems into cards, and just give me value.
yeah,
Just give me value mid-range cards, Blizzard, please.
I mean, Inspire, we've learned, is still not a compelling mechanic because snowballing is not fun. Or at least it can be, but it's not usually fun for the player on the other side of it, where you go turn 7, Thunderbluff Valiant, hero power, and the other person can't kill. It's like, well, I guess I'm dead. Same thing that happens now when your opponent plays a Tundra Rhino, and you cannot deal with it, and then next turn you know something real bad is going to happen, and you're not sure what it is, but you know it's going to hurt really, really badly. So this is not recurring value, and like they talked about, they're not going to do infinite value cards anymore. This is a high volume of finite value. You are getting more than you're paying for, but there's a limit. There's only so much you're getting out of this. And there's variance every game you play this. That's what I really like about the cards that we've seen so far, is that the same card will play differently multiple games in a row, but not in a way that loses you the game on the spot or wins you the game on the spot. And some of the variance isn't in the RNG of anything other than when you draw the card. It's worth noting, if you teach the Hex Fiend to scheme, does not upgrade. And I really like that those schemes stay in your hand, and you choose, do I take this anti-aggro card and put it in my hand early and compromise my early turns, or do I throw it back in my deck and hopefully don't top deck it when I don't want to deal 5 mana for 1 damage? And Hagatha is really interesting because you're going for value, but it's going to be different every time, and you're not going to guarantee a consistent effect here. A good effect, but not a consistent one.
I'm so excited. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I really want to play with this card, and maybe like a Baleful Banker. Just get an extra, get two Hagathas in my deck.
You know that Youthful Brewmaster is still in the format.
Yeah, you know that Youthful Brewmaster returns it to your hand, so you paid 9 mana for a 2/2, whereas a Baleful Banker, you get a 5/5, a 2/2, and another Hagatha in your deck.
But then you get to play another Hagatha immediately.
No, you have to wait till next turn because you spent 9 mana. That's too much mana, Hat. You're
No, you don't get to play another
losing too much.
Hagatha. You get to play the 5 mana
idea-
5/5.
The idea is that you are going for value, and also you don't want to lose too much tempo, even though you're going to get a bunch of it back. Ideally, when you play the 5/5 next turn, you want to maintain board presence. And even if you happen to like draw your Shutterwalk after or before your second Hagatha, you still have another Hagatha in the deck.
I wish Spirit Echo wasn't rotating.
Ugh.
That's what I really
Ugh.
need to combo Hagatha with.
That's another good one.
But it's also going to be a thing to go Hagatha into Shutterwalk, right? It's 7 mana Hagatha into 8 mana Hagatha into 9 mana Shutterwalk. The value proposition there is unbelievable.
Yeah, that's a lot of cards you're getting.
As long as Shaman can survive, because losing Volcano, losing Healing Rain. Are we keeping Tidal Surge? That's going away too, right?
Yeah, that one's from Angora.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, we got Spirit of the Frog, we got Thunderheads, we got Schemes.
Zaps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thunderhead Zap.
Nice.
Thunderhead Zap. Yep. And Spirit of the Frog is a legit card. It's a real thing.
And Lickum is also quite good.
Yes.
Oh, lick 'em.
So are we overload, mid-range, value, Shutterwalk, Shaman? Is that what we are?
Maybe. Just like overload stuff, keep the early and mid game under control, and then start working up the curve.
And we have, 100 more cards to be revealed, so there's probably some tools that we haven't seen yet, if I had to guess.
I'm so excited. Oh my god. Please come out faster. I want to play with it.
Well, I don't know if we're going to top that. And if the answer to this upcoming question is 3 weeks, Appa.
How long can this go on?
Yep, we've still got 3 more weeks, but also we've got a shorter show this week, and a reminder to everyone, next week will be our hopefully last week of wonky scheduling. We will be recording next Friday, that is on the 29th, releasing the show over that weekend. We will have so many cards to talk about, way too many, but I will be in Buffalo next Wednesday, so I will not be recording, and we'll bump the show a couple of days. Also, if you're in Buffalo, tell me where is a good place to eat, because I am curious. We have many folks we'd like to thank. Check out our thanks section on the website.
Wild Wings is the answer to that. Eat at Buffalo Wild Wings. No?
Or B-dubs, as it has been known.
The Young B-dubs. That's a good place to go when you're in Buffalo.
I don't have a shh soundbite, but I want you both to not talk anymore for a little while. Right, both just stop doing that. Okay, good. We have many folks we'd like to thanks. Check out our thanks section on our website at coinconcede.com, where you can also find our contact info, our show notes, and our Patreon information. Special shout out again, and we will be linking them permanently on the website, to Shanghai HS, Akuta Pasca HS, and Yay Tears for the specialist format information. You can support our show at patreon.com/coinconcede. Join us every week live by following us on Twitch at twitch.tv/coinconcedepodcast. Join our community chats in our Discord at discord.coinconcede.com. Write into our email at coinconcede@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at coinconcede, as well as like, share, and follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/coinconcede. Like some CC swag, heading over to our shop at shop.coinconcede.com. Leave us an iTunes review if you like the show. Really helps other people find it. We'll be shouting those out on our bonus episode. Big thanks to our producers, 5 of you now. You're all crazy, but we love you. Viriatus, Ryan, Donald, Dante, and Joshua. Thank you so much for your support of the show. It makes all of this possible. And got some coin concedes. Appa, you go first.
I would like to coin concede to Slizzle, because I was playing the odd control mage earlier today, and I randomly started, Slizzle started spectating me, and I was like, why is he spectating me? And then I checked the stream, and he had to step away for a little bit, so he just left the stream on me for like 3 games. And I don't know, it was fun. I popped into his chat and was like, welcome to my stream, everybody. Yeah, it was fun. Got to mess around in his chat while goofing around on ladder. Managed to get legend, so coin concede to him. How about you, Botticus?
I would like to coin concede to Spivey for the bringing up the Pogo Rogo deck that I've been trying out, having some fun with. And also my opponent from last week, Wash in the Wind. We had a very fun match where he high rolled the first game a little bit and then got counter high rolled because he played turn 1 coin Keleseth into turn 2 draw the Shadow Step to Shadow Step the Keleseth and play it again. And in order to win that game, I had to get a Murmuring Elemental off of a random generating elemental effect and then draw Blaze Caller to be able to Murmuring Elemental Blaze Caller him for 10 and barely squeak out of that game. So it was a fun match. I look forward to my matches this week and appreciate the games.
And as for me, I would like to coin concede to T-Ben, my opponent in the Specialist Series this week. Again, lots of fun. Super nice guy. Had some fun matches. I played Rogue. Rogue is Rogue. I enjoyed it. Cinder for making the overlay for our amazing Strike match. Markshire and Momo's dad for giving us a great Strike format match and something really interesting to cast. Krispy Kreme Donuts for having the hot light on. I was driving back from upstate New York, and there's not a lot going on there, but I saw a sign. I needed to get some gas. And the exit sign said, off this exit, Krispy Kreme, and I veered off the highway. And the hot light was on. If you don't know what that means, between a certain time of day, they make hot, fresh donuts there, and when you order them, they give them to you right off the conveyor belt, and they melt in your mouth. And I've learned from my Twitter followers that I got 3 donuts by myself, and that was not enough for them, so I am making a resolution specifically to eat more donuts because Twitter wants me to. I'd also like to specifically not coin concede to my co-host because they are trolling me, and I don't appreciate it. So keep calm.
I don't know what you're talking about, Hat.
Keep calm and ignore the sign-offs that my co-hosts give you, and if you see us on the ladder, coin concede.
Coin Slempo.
Slempo concede.
What do you think goes in a Slempo rogue deck? What could we put in there?
Take cold comfort in your victory.
You win. I can rest now. You win. For now. Now, your victory proves nothing.
The day is yours.
I choose death. You have triumphed. This time. This hunt is yours.